Hi everyone. Today's verse is Luke chapter 15, verse 11 through 32. It is a very famous parable of prodigal son. The usual message that we associate with the story is something like, God will always accept you no matter how sinful you are, or God is waiting for you to come back to Him. While these messages are great, today I want to focus on why Jesus told us this parable in the first place. Let's look at the beginning of the chapter 15. Now the tax collectors and sinner were all gathered around to hear Jesus. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, "These men welcome sinner and eat with them." Jesus was giving this series of parables because the Pharisee and the teachers of the law were criticizing him for associating with the sinners. So if you look at the first two parables, sheep and the coin, they share a very similar structure and format. Owner lost their property, searched for it, found it, and everyone rejoiced. But if you look at the last parable, our parable, the parable of the prodigal son, we see something similar but different. First, the son voluntarily leaves the father, not being lost. Second, the father waits for the son to come back rather than search for the son. Third, the son comes back to the father, not the father finding his son. Lastly, there's rejoicing, but not everyone rejoiced. In this series of parables, Jesus wants to highlight how the Pharisees and the teachers of the law were like this older brother who does not rejoice in returning his brother. If they are truly being faithful to God, the Pharisees and the teachers of the law should rejoice with Jesus when sinners were interested in God. However, they did not because they were not interested in being faithful to God, or were only interested in themselves. When you're faithful to God, you see things in His perspective. What the father wanted from the parable is having a relationship with his sons. However, for the sons, their interest is the father's fortune. Although the older son stayed with his father physically, in spirit, he left the house when his brother left the house. If the older brother understood the father, he would have been enjoying living with his father, and he would have rejoiced when his brother came back. We call ourselves as Christians, and I hope and I believe that we try to live like one. But if our heart is not with God, and if our spirit is somewhere else other than God, can we really call ourselves as Christians? If our interest is not aligned with God, that means we're no different than the Pharisees and the teachers of the law and the older brother who could not rejoice with our father when our fellow brother came back from the sin. Thinking back in the story, who was the real prodigal son? Who is the actual lost son in the story? With this opportunity, I want everyone to look back at our lives and see if our interest is aligned with God. If it's not, let's realign our interest to be His children.